Another view of my hostel. That is my room up there in the center with a little balcony. And now I'll wander down this narrow street and take my second walkabout for this evening. It would be naive not to admit that graffiti is an art form in Athens. Poking my nose into someone else's place when I'm uninvited, I discover a small theater that's been built into this space. One can only imagine what productions occur here. Here in the twilight is that statue we saw this morning, but aggrandized with the fountain going for some reason in this early evening. There, the City Hall all lit up at City Hall Square. It's kind of fun to wander around when I think I know where I am. This is the Archaeological gate of the ancient Athens wall. I could take the time to look at this, but I'm not going to. It's just too much. It's the plight of cities like this in Rome and probably Cairo, and underneath them is this I have discovered as I wander about trying to find my way back to Abu Street. These two towers looking very castle-like. Walking around today, I'm still trying very hard to lose my stomach as quickly as I can. So I'm going to have cabbage salad, which I eat all the time anyway, and some, I think it was fried zucchini, which I have always liked. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. And all these restaurants are one and the same, apparently, because my red guy came from behind me over my left shoulder and immediately hung a left turn after dropping off my bread to scurry over there. And I noticed that I believe the tablecloths. Who says that immigrants don't contribute to the culture? This is Monastiraki Square that we were in this morning. Adrian's library up there and the Acropolis. Notice the dog completely nonplussed by it all. This is the Athens Polytechnical Institute. Even it has graffiti on its buildings. Looks like it's deserted, although the flag is flying over it. But it looks abandoned. Standing in this entryway to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, maybe one of the few opportunities to get a sense of what it might have felt like to be in the midst of huge columns. Coming up this hill to the east of the Archaeological Museum just to see if I can burn the pain out of my hips, get my sciatic loosening up so that it stops killing me. Interesting how this portrays a couple of things building on top of barren rock and uneven rock, and what might have been quite a noble and important building in its time. Looks like a pretty nice area, residential area. High density, but relatively nice, and somewhat seemingly remote from the rest of Athens. Don't know if I'll climb up there or not. Well, you get three things from up here. One, a nicer neighborhood, buildings in much, much better condition, surroundings much prettier, landscaping slightly less graffiti. You get a magnificent view and magnificent breezes. It's a nice cool breeze up here. So sign says theater, so we'll climb up that way in hopes there's something unique to see. Somewhere down in there should be the Archaeological Museum I was at, but I really don't know how I quite got up. Just to orientate myself, I'm on that hill right there, that green spot. So looking from there, here's the Acropolis, and that kind of lines up with just about right here. Just to the right of this little tower, you'll see in the distance is the Acropolis. My hostel should be down right in there somewhere. Don't quite pinpoint anything from up here. I don't know what that building there is. If I knew, that would give me some clue where my hostel was. It may be at the ancient Agora. Now I'm panning away from the Acropolis, around to my left, or to the south, southwest. And my guess is that these neighborhoods are much, much better than the downtown, which is so congested and decrepit. I hiked up these roads, or trails, and I'm going to try and go down on trails if I can, hooking to the left towards the Acropolis if it goes that way. So I'm walking down this downward sloping trail, narrower than the one above to my right, but this one appeared to go downhill and yet sweep around. What's pretty are the beautiful sprays of flowers all the way along this. Some very pretty ones. There's a beautiful motif on that building. I've never seen that idea before. Wonder how they did it. Don't really know what the significance of this place is. It's just interesting to see how much debris it's buried under. Lending some credence to my realization that there are several, if not many, places in Athens that are quite nice residential areas, just not the downtown that the tourist normally sees. This is that huge stadium that we could see from up on top of that hill. And now behind me is that huge park, so I'm going to cross the street and enter it. Having just had a Perrier at that little white kiosk, I love any country you can get a Perrier out of a small kiosk. Just entered the park, saw this statue. It looks very Turkish for all that I know, or Ottoman or something, but don't know who or what its significance is. But I'm just focusing a little bit on his uniform. Entered the park, which represents a huge swath starting from way up there somewhere. This should be a diagonal, I think, to Syntagma Square. And also the park continues on down this way, that big blob we saw. Don't know if this has anything to do with the church we're about to look at. What caught my attention with this church is not that it's particularly old, nor even particularly beautiful, but rather that large square tower. That's kind of novel. It's a bell tower. You can see the bell in that third story. And there's probably a bell in each story. Can't see if there's a bell in the upper story or not. Those narrow steps remind me of the steps I saw in some of the lighthouses in the maritime provinces in Canada. Here what's rather pretty is the carving on the door frames. This looks like it ought to be writing, but it seems highly repetitive as though it were just a design. Just entered the park again, just because it looked kind of pretty, and it is. Nice flowers and those lovely palm trees. I'm going to walk in here a ways, and then these are those three buildings we saw yesterday, one of which at the far end was, I believe, the National Library. So we'll look more closely if we can get out of the park at that point, or I'll have to double back, I'm not sure. This is the prettiest park I've seen thus far, principally because it has such rich vegetation. There's a child's library here, it's interesting. And the oranges give it a nice touch. This is the nondescript Parliament building, and that officer has just given instructions. You can stand next to the guard for photographs, but you can neither touch nor salute him. This is interesting because it tries to give us a sense of what Athena Promatia looked like. That's the statue on the left that used to be originally on the Acropolis. This is a reproduction at best. The other is lost to history, but her spear theoretically could be seen glinting in the sun from far out to sea. But this is interesting too because it purports to give us an idea of how they actually colored their buildings. So they were not the white, ubiquitous white that we're used to seeing. Even the figures there, and I don't recall the Elgin figures in England, but they're supposed to have all been painted. I suspect that by the time Elgin stole them, they were already bereft of paint. It would have been something if they were painted like this. This is really rich looking. Not exactly sure what this building is, but this reminds me very much of the British Parliament, or at least the House of Commons debating room. You have both sides. Guessing that this structure is the university, but I'm not absolutely sure. Whatever it is, it seems to be a mess. I'm really looking at the trash lying about here. I believe this is the National Library. We'll go up and see if we can take a look inside. And I believe these are Ionic pillars because they're simple, capital, and no pedestal. But I didn't know for sure if they were fluted. Maybe it's either or. So this is souvlaki. One is souvlaki. They're both souvlaki with chicken, but somehow they're different. I don't remember what the difference is. They look the same. Well, they got French fries mixed into them, if you can believe it. And I think all kinds of spices. And these look like sponges or something. I'm not really sure. I mean, the things that are beside me. Don't know what those things are. That looks like ajo or garlic. These, I think, are sponges. Yeah. This is fantastic. Probably every kind of sausage you could imagine is here.
Το βουβαλίσιο είναι, κοίταξε μήπως είναι 5 έκτου. Αν είναι 5 έκτου το θέλω.
This is what you would call a delicatessen.
Είναι 18.